For today's video, we'll be learning how to create a new seasonal structure in TheOneDB and get everything ready for loading schedules. We'll make sure to take a bit of time to explain some of the terminology used in TheOneDB and how each data concept is designed to be used. During the demos, we'll be looking at an example youth hockey league, but we won't be covering anything that's sport specific, so you should be able to apply this information to any sport. Before we get started, just a few prerequisites. First, if you're watching this video, you probably already have your league set up in TheOneDB and you've been provided with access to your league. However, if that's not the case, please reach out to sales@sportseds.com and let us know a little bit about your league and who you are so that we can help get you started. Most of the experience in TheOneDB is designed to be self-serve, but there are some bits of data which are crucial to be both accurate and not duplicated, so we will handle these for you. Namely, we handle the master list of associations in TheOneDB and the master list of venues. You'll be able to assign any association or venue to your league as long as they are in the same sport, and in the case of associations, as long as they are also in the same governing body. If you are missing either one of these things and can't get them added, just let us know and we'll be able to provide that assistance. So the first step is to create your season, which is usually corresponding to one season per calendar year, but more accurately corresponds to the lifetime of a team within your league. So, for example, if a group of players has a tryout, then forms a team, then plays their regular season and playoff games in your league, and then dissolves at the end of the playoffs in order to try out for next year, that's one single season. The dates that you'll set for your season would then align to the earliest possible game in your entire league as the start date, and the latest possible game in your league as the end date. Let's take a look at a demo. From the Setup homepage, we're going to look at League and then Seasons, which will give us the list of seasons page. Then to create a new season, we'll hit the button to create one, fill in the form, and if you've got a season from the past in your league, you can actually copy the structure of your season from the previous season into the new one. Otherwise, we can just create a blank season, or if you don't have any previous seasons to copy from, we'll just create one from scratch. Note that the name of the season can be really anything you want it to be, but by convention, we recommend that it is the year or the 2 years that contain the season. We'll click Create Season and return back to the list, and we now have our 24-25 season created. Next, we'll want to make sure your league has some associations assigned to it. An association is a collection of one or more teams who are participating in your league. As mentioned earlier, only authorized SportsEds personnel can add or change associations in the master list. However, league administrators can assign or unassign associations at any time. We do recommend that associations who have teams participating in your current season are listed in your league's association list. Let's take a look at a very quick demo. So from the Setup home, we're going to navigate to League and then Associations. That will give us a list of all of the associations currently assigned to the league. Click Add Association. That will give us a list of associations who are in the same sport and governing body as this league. Go ahead and add Demo Org 4 and Demo Org 8, and now we have our list of associations. Notice that Demo Org 1, 2, 3, and 4 are green chain-linked icons. That means they are using SportsHeads as their association website, which means they are linked to this system, and we'll go over a little bit what that means down the road. Populating the venues used for your league's games is usually the most time-consuming part of the setup process. So if leagues can supply their list of venues used by each association, including the address for each, SportsEd staff can help get those set up as quickly as possible. What ultimately needs to happen is that each association needs to have assigned to it the venues that it might use for any of their home games. One of the ways to help with that process is to first establish the league's list of venues, which will help ensure that the venue exists and that when the venue is assigned to the association, it's a bit shorter of a list than the master list. Let's see what this looks like in action. So to review, in our sample league, we've got 8 associations that we've got set up as part of this test environment. And to make things simple, what we're going to do is also assign one venue per association with the same number as the association, just to keep it easier down the road. So in the list of venues, we can look at the current 7 venues that are added and click Add Venue to add the remaining one. So you can start typing in the list, and the list of venues is quite long. So we're going to try to find the one that we've got. And again, if this doesn't exist, then you need to contact Sports Head staff to get it added for you. Now that we've got the venue added, as mentioned, the most important part of this is to make sure that it is assigned to the association. So from league and associations, we can look at the associations that are set up, click on an association and open the schedules area. That will then give you a look of what the association would view. Under the association, we can look at venues and then add venue. And this will give us a list of the venues now that are assigned to that league venue list. So in the case of SportsEd's demo org number 8, we want to add pad number 8 and add that to the list. In addition, for any organizations that are linked because they're using a SportsEd's website, their venues must also be linked to the venues that are in their association website. So take a look at a different association. Let's look at the league associations list and then demo org 1. Open their schedules area, look at their list of venues, and we'll see that their venue is linked to their association website. If I quickly unlink that, I'll just give you a sense of what it looks like to link it. So we click on the venue, click here to link. That will give us a list of all of the venues that exist in the association's website. We choose the one that matches and then link that venue. This is a once ever process. Once a venue is linked, that doesn't need to happen each season. So for steps 2 and 3, the assigning of associations and venues to your league, those are typically only done during the initial setup, unless a new association joins your league in a subsequent season. Now let's get back to the season we're building and look at step 4, which is to create your groups. A group is a collection of teams in your league who are more or less exclusively playing each other throughout your season. In most leagues, this would represent the different age groups, but in larger leagues, it could be different calibers of teams as well as different age groups. Don't worry if there's a remote chance that a team might end up moving to a different group at some point after the schedule starts. There are ways to include teams from different groups into a single schedule. What's important is that the groups are set up to define the set of teams that are playing most, if not all, of their games against each other, and generally working towards a single champion of the group. Back to our demo to look at how groups are created. Once again, from the Setup homepage, we're now going to look at the Season menu and the first option there to manage groups. So on this page, we have a season selector in the top right, the Create New Group button, and a Bulk Group Management button we'll cover in a second. So to create these groups one at a time, we go Create New Group, enter in a sort order, the name of the group, and an abbreviation or short name for it, and hit Create Group. Looking at a previous season, we can see that these sort orders have gaps in them. And the reason we do that is just to make it so that if you need to reorganize or add an additional group, you don't have to reorganize every single sort order for all the groups. You can just insert them into the sequence that you would like to see them put into. Back to the bulk group management option. Several different pages in here have this bulk group management or bulk management commands option. And all of these pages have instructions on them as far as what they do and how to use them. But basically at the top it will give you a sample of these commands that are going to be used to do things in bulk. So it's more or less running a script. And this CSV command data box is where you would enter those script commands. What we can do is also look at a previous season and grab the script for what was used in that previous season. So this is the existing commands for the 2023-24 season. We can grab that, copy it, and go back to the 24-25 season and paste that into the box. And this will actually just recreate all of the groups that were in that previous season into my 24-25 season. Much faster way of creating all of your groups and creating the teams and rounds as we'll cover down the road. The next step in the process is to create all of the teams that will be participating in your season. Teams form the basis for your games, where one team will be defined as the home and the other will be defined as the away. Teams will always belong to an association, and if your season has groups, it will be part of that group as well. Let's view the team creation and management process in our demo season. From the Setup home, we're going to go to Season and then Manage Teams. This will give us, again, for the selected season, the list of all of the groups that are created for that season, and we can add our teams into each of those groups with the bulk management button at the bottom. So if we're going to add a under 11 AAA team, we can click that button and then choose the association that the team belongs to. Now upon choosing the association, this should actually update the team name automatically based on the default team name for the association, but you can change that to be whatever you need to be. In addition, if the same association has more than one team in the same group, so let's say Demo Org 1 has two under 11 AAA teams, you could say it's Bobcats Red as the one team and create, and Bobcats White as the other team. In addition, we can see that there's an ability when you're creating teams for each group, you can choose additional groups that the same organization has a team in as well. So if Demo Org 1 had a red and white team in all of those groups, then we can check all those off. We're going to assume that the red and white thing only happens at under 11, hit create for just that, and we're going to say that for Demo 2, they've got a team that exists in every group. So that's one way of adding the teams. The other way is to do it by using the bulk team management option. So similar to the bulk group page, we have the ability to do this CSV command style script, and we can even go and refer back to a previous season to copy what was set up in a previous season. As long as the group name matches what it was in the previous season and the organization names all match, then we should be able to use this command to create the teams in our current season. And then lastly, for associations who are using a Sportshead's website, those teams will show with yellow chain icons. And what we want to make sure that happens for those teams is that they are linked to the association website. So for this, I'm going to go back to the 23-24 season and notice that the U11A teams are not currently linked for any of these teams. To link a team, we just click on the team name and then click here to link, and that will give us a list of all of the seasons that are in the association website for this organization or for this association. Choose the season that matches, and then choose the team that matches. So in this case, we want the under 11A, and link this team. Now that we have teams defined, the next step is to set up our rounds. The most common and simplest setup in a season is that the league will play a regular season followed by the playoffs. In TheOneDB, these would be defined as two different rounds to make sure that the scores for the playoff games don't affect the standings from the regular season. In a more complicated scenario, your league could operate multiple regular seasons, or a multi-tiered season where all teams in the same group play a first half regular season and then are split into tiers for a second half regular season, where there would then be a round created for each of those tiers since those teams no longer play each other. But while rounds are generally used to create separate sets of standings, what's important is that a round should include all of the teams who could play each other at some point during that round. If your league has a regular season round with so many teams that you need to separate standings for groups based on geography or something similar, then there is the option to use divisions, which we will cover in the next step of this video. In general, leagues will want to have as few rounds as possible, which again is typically one regular season and one postseason round per group. Let's review rounds in our demo season. So once again, from the setup home, we look at season and then manage rounds. And just like the manage teams page, we have our season in the top right, followed by a list of all of the groups that are set up within that season, and at the bottom, our bulk round management option. To create a new round, we click on the add new round for whatever group we want to create it for. And for rounds, we need to define the type of round that it is, which is more or less the type of games that are going to be played inside of that round. So we have the options for preseason or exhibition, regular season, or postseason/playoffs. In terms of the website and generating standings, preseason rounds do not generate standings, whereas regular season and postseason will. So just keep that in mind when you're setting up your rounds. So for regular season, it actually defaults the round name to be regular season. We want to put these in order, and we want to give it a start date and end date. So earlier we had defined the start date of the season to be September 1st and the end date to be April 6th. Now the end date is actually the end of our playoffs. So we want to make sure that the regular season is done before that. So we're going to have the regular season end on February 28th. There's some sport specific options down below that, but then we also have the option to create our rounds for each group. And because this option does exist to create these rounds, the bulk round management page isn't used as often, but we can. If we go create, we have our rounds that are now created. But our bulk round management page, similar to the bulk team management page, would give us a list of all of the existing commands for the selected season, which we could copy from a previous season and bring forward. The thing to remember with this is that the dates for a previous season would not be the dates that you want to use in terms of the year anyway for the current season. You want to make sure that when you copy and paste that into your command box, that the dates are in the correct season. Next, we have the option to create divisions within our rounds. Now, for postseason rounds, divisions are actually a requirement and not optional. In this video, we are focusing more on preparing the season structure for a regular season. So we'll do another separate video covering on how to set up postseason rounds in those divisions. Keeping in mind that the use of divisions in a regular season is actually rare, and again, not a requirement, we'll quickly cover in our demo a scenario where you might need to use them. Now, earlier in our season, we had set up our teams, and we have, in this particular demo league, 8 teams in every age group. So generally, those divisions are not going to be something that would be created. But let's just assume that for our regular season in the under 11 AAA, we want to create a division of East teams and West teams. Now, there's only going to be 4 in each, but to create those divisions on the season managed or divisions page, we have the option of choosing rounds that are preseason, regular season, or postseason, defaulting to regular season. And if we choose to create a regular season within the U11 AAA round, it will then ask us what type of division it is. So it'll be round robin. We give it a name, so we can say it's the East Division. We want it to show up first, give it a description, if we want, and then the start date and end date, which we would only fill in if the divisional dates are different than that of the round. So we can create division and then add another regular season division. We'll call this one the West Division. Give it a sort order of 20 and then leave those dates blank as well. So that's what would be involved in creating those divisions. In addition, once divisions are created, if there's going to be crossover play between those divisions, we actually have to tell the system that. So we click on the East Division and say that it crosses over with the West Division. Save that, and then for the West Division, that we're going to cross over with the East Division. This will just make sure that when games are played between teams in alternate divisions, that the standings are updated to reflect in both. And now we're at the last step involved in preparing the season structure before starting the schedules, which is to tell the system what teams are participating in each round. As mentioned during the last demo on divisions, using divisions for regular season is somewhat rare. However, because this is an option in our system, we do need to have this extra step of declaring what teams are in what division, even if there are no divisions in a round. But don't worry, it goes pretty quick, as we'll show in the demo. So to assign teams, we're going to go to season and then place teams. On this page, we have the option of choosing our season as well as our round. So our under 11 AAA regular season round, from the previous video, we had created an East and a West division. So when there are divisions, this is the page where we declare which teams are in the East division. So we can say that 1, 2, 3, and 4 are in the East, and that in the West division, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are in the West division. And again, if you only have one division, then it doesn't make sense to create the division. It's just creating extra work. So for the other rounds that we've got set up, we've got no divisions created. So the system actually creates what it just calls the default division. And we go to add teams, assuming that all of the teams in this group are going to be participating in this round. We can just hit check all, add those selected teams. At this point, now that we've defined which teams are participating in the round, we can set up our matchups and continue on with the scheduling process, which we'll cover off in the next video. Thanks for watching.